Hey guys, welcome back to Stop Loss with Spencer installment 7. Today we are going to discuss the lock period. The lock period, Spencer. Okay. So when I was going through this weekend, ideas about topics, what can we continue to build upon to create a real good foundation for stop loss, I started thinking about, I've gone over the most sexy topics so far, the lasers and the ag specs, too sexy, right? I heard some comments like, whoa, Spencer, pull it back a little bit. We're getting a little bit excited. So I thought, what is something that doesn't get as much attention, which is not as sexy, but effectively is just as important. And so that's where the idea to discuss the lock period came in, because this is really crucial in understanding at that final stage of negotiation. And if you understand it well, you plan accordingly based on your understanding of lock period and claims availability lag, you will have a smooth experience for that final stage, which is the most stressful period. We're all probably in 1-1, and we've got hundreds of RFPs we're managing, and we're just pulling our hair out and working 15-hour days. So if you put forth a little bit of planning and execute on this initially, you'll have a much better experience at the completion of this. So what is a lock period? Lock period is essentially a very basic idea. It is the gap between available claims and the effective date. So if you look at this blue line here, I have claims through August. And one thing to keep in mind when you're looking at this, claims through August means all the way through August 31st. So even though I've got it marked at the A, it is effectively a completed August month, and we're bumping up against September 1st. So claims through August would leave 4 months till January 1st, which is 120 days. It's always going to be given to you in the number of days. So 8 months of claims, 120 days out. Now on this red line here, I've got claims through September. So we're, chronologically speaking, we're probably in mid-October when this data is available. And that would be a 90-day period. So October, November, December claims are left. That is a 90-day lock. And the reason I chose to highlight a 90-day lock is by default typically your standard lock period. You can ask for longer locks, you can negotiate and maybe pay a little bit more for a 120 or potentially 150-day lock, but 90 is basically the standard. Some carriers, MGUs might do 60 as a standard, but let's just assume 90 is the standard for this illustration. So what are we actually talking about when we talk about lock period? We're talking about an RFP. We're going to market soliciting stop loss quotes in order to, either renew or move our stop loss for our client to a new carrier. And so when we go to market, let's use that same illustration and timeline. We're going to market probably in mid-September with August data. And at that point, we're essentially just asking for initial quotes, or what they're most commonly referred to as illustrative quotes. So an illustrative quote, usually can't buy it, right? Don't try to buy it. I mean, you can try to buy it, but you're going to create a huge headache for your rep. If you present initial illustrative quotes to your client and they're like, yeah, we love that one. That one's great. Let's purchase it. And the broker goes, yeah, got big commissions tied to this one. And they go back to the rep and say, hey, congrats, you won. And the rep's like, I wish I won. There's like $2 million of premium there, but that's an illustrative quote, bud. We haven't fully evaluated the risk. You're probably calling your broker bud, right? Because you play golf with him and drink with him. He's your bud. So don't put your rep in a pickle and tell him that he won on a quote that's illustrative. It's going to create a nightmare, all right? And it's going to create stress. And chances are, by the time that quote actually gets firm, you may not be going with the same carrier, okay? Because people get really aggressive with initial illustrative quotes, and then they go, not so fast. There's some bad risk on that. Yoink, they pull it. Okay, so in that same example, we've gone to RFP with August data, and we've got our initial quotes. We've maybe received 6, 7, 8, 10 quotes back. We've honed in on 3 or 4 carriers we want to go back to. Now we give them another month of claims through September. Okay, at this point, now we have enough available data to get a 90-day lock. And when I say enough available data, that also assumes you're giving the full spectrum of supporting documents. So spec and ag claims by month through that 9-month period, typically a couple years historic as well. You're also giving a 50% of spec report, so if they have a $100,000 deductible, you're giving them a report that shows all claims up to $50,000 and above. You're usually providing case management notes, pending denied reports, and pre-cert reports as well. It's typically that full scope of what a carrier is going to want to see in order to give you a firm bid. So big difference. Now that we've gotten enough data through 9 months, all the supporting document, the carrier's fully evaluated the risk, especially the large claims risk, they've come back to you and said, hey, we're firm. So maybe you've taken those 4 carriers down to 2 we're willing to firm and still be competitive, right? So now we're firm. But big difference, right? You can purchase a firm quote with one very important caveat. That firm quote is going to come with an expiration date. Okay, why would it have an expiration date? Typically, it's through the end of that month or maybe it's a few weeks out. The reason they give you a firm expiration date is because they don't want to be left holding a firm offer out in the marketplace, they meaning the carrier, indefinitely, right? Because what's going to happen if they just leave an open-ended firm quote? They're going to be adversely selected against. And now that's probably a whole separate topic for a different video, but what it effectively means is the carrier is going to get hosed if they leave their quote firm forever. And also if you create a little sense of urgency with a couple week period in which they can purchase that quote, hopefully that it pushes that broker to recommend you as a carrier as well. But that expiration date, they don't want to leave it out forever, because indefinitely what's going to happen, or invariably what's going to happen, is they're going to come back 2 months later and be like, hey, congrats, you won, carrier. And oh, by the way, 7 hemophiliacs joined the plan. They're all in one family. We just hired him, great employee, but his entire family is hemophiliacs, and that's $8 million a year that you now have to cover. But you won, congrats. And that carrier is going to say, pound sand, buddy. I know we have a great relationship, but no, you can't buy that, no. And the reason they do that is because claims data becomes available, and typically throughout the year the claims are going to get worse, not better, so they don't leave that firm expiration for too long of a period of time. So that's really not a difficult topic, but it's important to understand the distinction of illustrative versus firm. It's important to understand the chronological timeline in order to get enough claims data to solicit a 90-day lock. Okay, so important terms: illustrative, firm, expiration date on the firm, 90-day lock, that's claims through 9 months of the year, to the effective date, lock period, Spencer. That's it. Questions or comment below. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, tried to make an unsexy topic as sexy as possible. That's why I put on my tan jacket. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.